The craziness is definitely never in short supply. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate your continued support, and I hope that you are subscribed as well, particularly if you are watching on Rumble, because we do need to support platforms that support free speech. So I have to say that I don't have a long list of people that I truly avoid featuring on my channel because their public thoughts and comments are so ridiculous that I actually feel that including even brief clips of them depreciates completely from the conversation. Actually, that list isn't very long at all. It includes one person, and that person is Kamala Harris. And it's not just me that dislikes this woman, because let's not forget, she was so deeply disliked by her own party that she didn't even make it past the first round of voting in the presidential primaries. She's not a smart person. She sounds insane pretty much every time she speaks, and the cackling thing that she does that erupts at the most random times takes every public engagement of hers from just being irritating to outright unbearable. And I think what makes these outbursts of this total fake laughing so completely cringeworthy is the fact that she doesn't seem to have any idea that literally every single person who has to hear it is exhausting all of their energy in that moment, not to disappear into the floor due to complete secondhand embarrassment. But unfortunately, an Instagram account that I do follow shared a brief clip of her, and because of the headline that was part of this clip, I had to just take a second to listen to what she said. So this was the clip that I'm talking about.
And most recently, they even want to eliminate classes that teach, quote, gender ideology. Well, so what are we talking about here? Classes that teach women's history? Women's equality? The study of the fact that there are still only 25 women in the United States Senate in a body of 100?
You know, the commitment to insanity and total unapologetic gaslighting is almost admirable at this point.
Are you serious?
After everything that we have seen over the last several years, at least those of us who get our news primarily from something other than the mainstream media, which at this point I feel like is the majority of the population, it takes an absolute commitment to insanity to get up there and lie about what gender ideology entails and what this movement is putting into our children's classroom. It has nothing to do with women's history. It has nothing to do with women's equality. Like, you have to be out of your mind lying to make such an insane statement, and you have to be out of your mind even more to believe it. So you guys have all heard me talk in the past about Billboard Chris. He's this guy that goes around to different cities in the US and Canada, and actually most recently London. And he walks around with this billboard that says children cannot consent to puberty blockers. And it's meant to just spark conversation with people. He might be on a college campus. He might be in front of a medical facility that does these anatomy mutilating surgeries on minors. And it really is just to spark conversations with people that are in the area and get them talking about what the reality of these situations are and what these treatments are doing to kids, and to see what people truly understand about the situation. This is part of a testimony that he shared in Florida recently to speak in favor of a bill that will keep children from being able to be convinced and manipulated into surgically mutilating their reproductive organs by activist teachers, politicians, counselors, doctors, anybody that truly adheres to gender ideology and tries to convince the public that children are truly making these decisions for themselves, free of influence from anybody around them, that just left to their own devices, they would choose to completely and totally sterilize themselves and become permanent medical patients for the rest of their lives.
Our children are being harmed psychologically and physically because of an ideology that teaches that just because they defy sexist, regressive stereotypes, that they must have been born in the wrong body. What an abusive thing to say to a child, that they were born wrong. Can you imagine telling your child they were born wrong? What does that even mean? The body positive message we should be sending is that there is no right way to be a boy or a girl. If a girl wants to climb trees and play in the dirt and throw around a football, wants to be an engineer when she grows up and hates wearing dresses, well, guess what? She's 100% a beautiful girl. We all knew this 5 years ago. Yet this ideology teaching that our children are trans has captured the entire Western world, yet no one can even define what it means to be trans. All it means is that they defy stereotypes. In this day and age, it means they have other mental health comorbidities which are affecting them. Half of these children who are going to these gender clinics are on the autism spectrum. We know from the Tavistock, the biggest gender clinic in the world, that out of more than 1,000 children, 35% had moderate to severe autism. These are children who have been abused in many instances. Parents are 10 times more likely to have been sex offenders. Kids in foster care are wildly overrepresented. These are our most vulnerable children who aren't fitting in, who are having a tough time, and they're being treated as though gender is the source of all their troubles.
First, back to Kamala Harris's original point. Again, it cannot be stated enough that this has absolutely nothing to do with women's history. Gender ideology has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It does have to do with the history of gender ideology, which primarily stemmed from a man named John Money, who preyed on a family in distress after one of their twin boys experienced a botched circumcision and sought out John Money, who called himself a doctor, and convinced them to let him oversee this child's care, telling them that they could raise him as a girl and he would never know the difference. And part of the care that he provided to this child and to his twin brother was to sexually abuse both twins during every single visit that he saw him for. In adulthood, both twins did end up committing suicide, because turns out you cannot just convince a child that they are the opposite sex of how they were born, and they will eventually come to the realization that you are the one that imposed gender dysphoria on them, and you are the one that told them that they were born in the wrong body, when that was never an issue for them in the first place. And had you left them alone, they never would have had any discomfort with binary gender labels or being called a boy or just being called a girl. And what Chris is expressing in his testimony here is just the beginning of where this stuff is leading to. Because right now we are just dealing with this activist goal, with this gender activist goal of telling every boy and telling every girl that they were born in the wrong body. This isn't just a means of making kids aware that some of their peers might want to express themselves differently than them, or that we just need to be accepting of everyone's journey and self-exploration as they figure out who they are, and that some kids might want to express themselves more in extreme ways than others. This isn't just a means of just teaching each other to be accepting of everyone's unique journey and everybody's unique expression. This is a means of telling every single kid that they're neither a boy nor a girl, and that that's perfectly normal. In fact, that it's more normal to not be a boy or a girl, and that it's perfectly normal to take drugs that are so strong that they will stop your body as it goes through puberty. That's normal to take high doses of estrogen if you're a boy and high doses of testosterone if you are a girl. That it's normal to tell a girl who perhaps likes to do rough and tumble things that means she's a boy, or that it's normal to tell a boy that because he doesn't like to get his pants dirty, that really means he's a girl. And that it's normal to put them on this path while they will spend years in total frustration trying to get every single person around them to see something that isn't there. And that it's normal to abuse children, to tell them that the reason the people around them aren't accepting of what they're trying to get them to see because they hate them and not because they're concerned for their mental and physical development. I've seen people say, well, it's okay that this is presented as an idea to kids, as this is okay if this is how you want to express yourself, but not to force it on kids. And that's a mistake, because it's not just an option being given to kids that you can express yourself however you want to. This is something that is being pushed on classrooms full of kids, on every kid in all of these rooms. All 30 kids in one classroom are being taught that it is more normal to not be a boy or a girl and to just be kind of this generic brand of human being, and that we have no inherent traits as male or female, and that any inherent qualities that you might feel because you are a boy or a girl are only because society has told you so. This is what is being taught as normal, and that the binary gender labels that we have gone by in the past are what is abnormal.
The last video in the series for now will be about making an inclusive classroom. Some things that you can do start by replacing gendered language and documentation, like any of these terms, with more neutral language. It can be things like, instead of referring to class as ladies and gentlemen or boys and girls, things like class, folks, or friends. Those are all good alternatives. Including your pronouns in your email signature, like this, is a really great way to show students when they email you that you are accepting of the pronouns that they use and that you're willing to work to try and use the proper ones.
There is no room in this person's classroom to be a boy who likes the color purple or a girl who likes to throw a football. This person wants every kid to question who they are, to believe that they can pick their gender, and that declaring your pronouns as if you can pick your gender is normal. This is gender ideology. As far as Kamala Harris goes, we know that she's someone that's walking around with all the lights off. She's just not an intelligent person at all. I just hope that more people start to wake up to what this really is and recognize how destructive it is, and the fact that it is a total lie to say that it has anything to do with the health and well-being of children, because it's the opposite. It is nothing but destructive. You know, people like Kamala Harris know that this is totally devastating and destructive to children because they're lying about it. If Kamala Harris truly felt that gender ideology was good for kids, she wouldn't have to try to tell people that it has anything to do with women's history and women's equality, so that she could get them to fight to keep this in schools under the guise that they're protecting teaching about women's history and women's equality. She would just call it what it is. And by the way, it is totally ironic. It is not lost on me that she chose to go this route of women's history and women's equality when, as we speak, the Biden administration is trying to push changes into Title IX that would effectively eliminate protection for all of women's spaces and all of women's awards and all of women's opportunities and all of women's athletics. These changes would make it pretty much impossible for women to not have to compete against men or to keep high school boys out of girls' locker rooms. I just don't understand how these people sleep at night when they knowingly convince people to support the most destructive ideas, knowing that children are being sexualized, knowing that they are being prepped and primed for sexual abuse, and knowing that they are being prepped and primed to be led down a path where they will be permanently sterilized and mutilated. The evil is real. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like this video, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to my channel. Also, if you feel like supporting the channel by way of tipping, there is a thank you button that you can do that. Otherwise, I always appreciate your support. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.